Thanks for taking the time to sit down with us for a chat, and congratulations on your recent award, which is the E&Y Entrepreneur of the Year National. And so what is your reaction after hearing the good news, Cherie?
Yeah, it was pretty incredible. I was able to bring some of my team to the award ceremony, and also my daughter, who's 16, who she's also wants to be an entrepreneur too. And so she was, we were just sitting at the table, and we were sitting so far away from the stage that I thought, okay, I'm definitely not winning, because they wouldn't have sent me this far away. I mean, Seth Meyers was just like tiny little figure on the stage that far. That's how far I was sitting. But then when they did the awards, mine was the first award. So fastest growing, I think, category is what we got. And then I had to, walk in my heels all the way on the grass for what seemed like a mile, all the while, listening to the band playing. And I was like, oh my goodness, I got to get to the stage faster. So then when I got up there, Seth Meyers made a few jokes about how, hey, next time the winners need to sit in the front, you're going to kill the band over here. I'm going to need SnapNurses up here to resuscitate the band. They've been playing for like 10 minutes. And we had a good time. I just was so surprised and honored. Really made a tribute to the nurses first and foremost for the award, and then to my team. So it was a real shock and an honor because of the competition. This was essentially all the entrepreneurs that had won locally in their states. And then you take all of them and put them in a competition together for the nationals. And then they picked 10 national winners. Yeah. And it was incredible to see all of the different things people are doing. So there's some incredible businesses being started, and we were very honored to be considered a winner among all of those incredible businesses.
But the SnapNurse has a unique stat that all other winners doesn't have, which is a 40,000% growth quarter to quarter or month to month. And I don't think any of your competitor are able to come close to that figure.
Yeah, exactly. We were definitely approached afterwards with, how did you do that? How'd you grow so fast? Tell me some secrets, So I always say, well, the biggest secret is, being ready for the opportunity when it comes. So if the technology is built, the team is put together, and then the timing hits just right, then you have a perfect storm of success, right? So that was what happened to us. Is we happened to have everything built. We had the great team already in place, and then pandemic hit. So we had all the opportunities come our way when we were already ready to receive that opportunity. And then we just were able to take market share and just scale very quickly and very methodically, which we continue to do today. And that gave us did about 10 years of business development in just a few years.
Wow. So for the purpose of our audience who doesn't know what SnapNurse does, can you briefly explain in your own words the initial stage, how you come about the concept of SnapNurse and how it evolves into the actual company as we see today? Can you, in a very few words, can you just briefly share with our audience about your journey, your early part of your journey, so to speak?
Yes, and I went to Emory University School of Medicine and took a class, a master's in anesthesiology, and that led me to become an anesthetist. And I worked as an anesthetist for 17 years. But for the last few years, I only wanted to work like contract work, which is this called PRN work, where you work a few days here, a few days there. And I'd been working at like 11 different facilities, and it was really hard to keep track of the credentialing in all the facilities, the the job requests that would come through, track down my payments. And during that time, when Uber was launched, people were starting to get that same kind of gig economy mindset in other industries outside of taxi driving. And I thought, wow, if they could do that with essentially healthcare staffing, then my job, my personal life would be easier, because if I were on the app, I could just, go from place to place and it'd be so easy. So I thought, I would start with a small beta, and I would put all of the people I knew that wanted to work like that on the app, and then all the places that I worked to be kind of like my beta locations. And we immediately went to market and started making revenue, which was really crazy. And then we built the app to be much more robust. And the tech team that we brought in is from Intercontinental Exchange initially. They had worked there. And so they knew how to build the world's largest financial exchange. And I needed them to now build the world's largest healthcare staffing exchange. And so that became what is SnapNurse today. It's technology that connects nurses and other healthcare staff to hospitals and facilities that, essentially are in need of staff.
So I'm sure your business somewhat is impacted by COVID. Share with us how does SnapNurse go through this period of time? Does it affect your business, or does it actually help your business to go to the next level?
I mean, definitely because of COVID, there's been a lot of staff that's been out, and also nurses have gotten burnt out from working such hard hours with very difficult patients. And 20% of the workforce last year actually quit in nurses have quit, which left a really huge gaping hole in the healthcare staffing ecosystem. What was already a nursing shortage became a very dire nursing shortage. So then when COVID hit, and then the numbers inside the hospital grew, and then the numbers, helping those patients went down, our business went up, because of course we provide contingent staffing, which is staffing on demand or emergency crisis staffing. So our business grew, and that's how we grew so fast. But then when the crisis ended, which, many times COVID seemed to like evaporate, right, disappear. Then those hospitals still needed nurses. And so we ended up converting those contracts, and not contract crisis, but just regular contracts that aren't crisis. And those are called direct contracts. So that's how we converted a lot of our business to very steady work. And whenever there's any kind of peak, then of course our work goes back up. And then we start to enter into more states, which then gives us a bigger footprint in the United States. Currently working directly with many states. And then once the state contracts kind of end, then we've got our foothold, inside the state. Excuse me. In fact, I'm actually coming off of, I don't know if it's COVID or a cold. I need to get tested.
Yeah.
And so that's, how SnapNurse has grown during the pandemic, but it's also how SnapNurse will, survive post-pandemic, is that there's still a huge shortage. The longer COVID goes, the more nurses quit. And, less nurses are entering the profession as well. And I do believe that's because of COVID. I'm sure a lot of people are not thinking that they're going to, go in and make, money, helping COVID patients. That's a hard profession. So it's harder to get people to, I want to say that's more like mercy work, right? So it's hard to get people to really want to do that. I know there's a big push here in Georgia to increase the number of nursing students in the nursing schools and programs. So hopefully we can attract more into the field, and that can alleviate some of the headaches that these hospitals are experiencing.
One of the attractive feature of SnapNurse when you guys just launch is the fact that nurses are getting paid at the end of the shift with the app that you have. And partial of that is the fintech element of the payment that you guys created to be
Right.
able to do this. And that's amazing. And can you share some insights how all that works and potentially how that helps SnapNurse to grow to the next level?
Yes, definitely. Our payment platform is super popular amongst our nurses. Inside our platform, we call it InstaPay, but they love it so much that they've called it like InstaBay, BAE, which means boyfriend, you know. Or, they love it. So, oh, where's my InstaBay? Like a love letter. Um, so I would say that InstaPay is one of the reasons that kind of differentiates us from a lot of the agencies. It also solved the headache that I always experienced when I was doing contract work, which is trying to get paid on time. And sometimes back in the day, nurse agencies would send nurses out in the field and then they would close their shop before they had to pay their paycheck. And so paying the nurse at the end of their shift after the time card's approved is also just another way if of that gig mindset of work today, get paid today, like an Uber driver, like, you know, Instacart. And so we built this proprietary payment platform to pay our nurses daily, but for no fees. You know, we had looked into a lot of other platforms that they're doing like mini loans to the nurses, but they're charging them fees that are pretty significant. And it would have been causing them potentially some overdraft fees. So we didn't want to do that because that's just seems wrong. And we decided not to charge fees. And we haven't been charging fees now for 2 years. And we feel like they earned all that money, so they should get all that money. It's actually earned wages. It's not a loan on your earned wages. It's you've already earned these wages. They've been proven. Now here's your wages, you know, from the employer too. And that's the platform that we built.
I'm sure a lot of it has to come from you as a CEO of the company, as personally, you know, as a nurse before, and you understood the struggle and the challenges all these nurses go through just to earn the wages itself. Well, kudos to you for emphasizing no fee for the transaction.
Yeah, I
So what's your,
remember one. Oh,
yeah, go
sorry, I
ahead.
remember one thing where I uh I had had the choice to work at, you know, 11 different locations, and there was one pain center that always paid me a paper check at the end of every shift. And I remember always waiting to see if I got an offer to work there first before I took any of the other offers, because I loved getting that paper check. So it also helped motivated me to work, you know, extra for them. And I remember even that they, you know, their hourly pay rate was even $5 less an hour. So I knew that if I would to come out with this app that would pay nurses daily, not that I could charge less, but they valued it more than making more money. They valued the idea of getting their money paid immediately than they did with getting paid a little bit more money. Now, SnapNurse does pay some of the highest rates, you know, in the industry, but we also let them access their money every single day.
It's great. So, share with us your growth plans for the coming year and two. We are pretty excited to see your growth, the evolution of your company. What's next?
Yes, we're been expanding into many other states. We've expanded the state of Louisiana, Alaska. We're now going into Oregon, Colorado, and Pennsylvania. And it's in other words, we're really getting in with our reputation of having served other state governments very well. And we've been able to deploy, 2,000-3,000 nurses in a matter of a few weeks to these governments. And it's then opens the door for us to basically engage with the hospitals there. And then when the state government contract ends, then we take over the contract with the hospital. And that's how we expand. So we've been continuing to grow. Our already experiencing like 2x growth really in this first quarter, and have really unlimited room to essentially take market share from what already exists, in the space, but also new market share because of the nurses that have quit, us having to replace those nurses with SnapNurses, and what I believe is the next coming wave of pretty much all of healthcare staffing turning into contract work. I see that trend coming because nurses love the flexibility. They love the idea of making their own hours and taking time off when they want to take time off. And they don't necessarily have to travel anymore like they used to, because the shortage is so dire that they could be a travel nurse right in their backyard and work in as a travel nurse, the hospital, maybe that they're even currently working in. So it's the new wave of, how healthcare staffing is going to be staffed. And through technology, it's also making it easier for hospitals to use our technology to find those nurses very quickly.
Interesting. Well, so I'm not going to keep you too long. Do you have any advice for young entrepreneurs out there that are following your growth, and any bits of advice that you can inspire them as the Entrepreneur of the Year winner for E&Y Award?
Yes, I think the most important thing that I've learned is to put together the very best team right from the beginning. And it can't necessarily be like your friends, right? It has to be someone that is fully qualified, right? And it's like, don't just grab your best friend and say, let's go do this together. Even they don't know healthcare, they don't know technology, but who cares? You have to find the right person who is a deep and industry expertise, and partner with those people. You need a good operator, someone who's going to do all the operations. You need a good tech, someone who's built tech before, that's not a consultant, but actually has had a startup or built, significant technology and scaled it to at least, several thousand people. And you need a good CFO, someone who can handle the books well, knows about taxes, can make sure that they give you the proper budget and you can stick to it. And if you put together a team of 4 like that right from the beginning, then you can go and raise the money you need to start your startup, which you need at least $1 million. If you don't have $1 million, you're already starting off at a disadvantage, because if you only raise like 250,000, trust me, that doesn't go far enough. You have to raise $1 million. So the team you put together has to be a team that people believe that because of this team, right, this is going to be successful. Maybe they were prior successful entrepreneurs. You really only need one person on that team to be one of those people. So that instills confidence in the investors in you, right? Like if I'm going to go start another startup, it's going to be very easy for me to raise the money, right? Because I have already proven that I have done this before. That's what I mean. So if I went on to someone else's team, then together we can all raise money on the next venture, right? So you have to find those people that have retired or they're done, they're just now trying to advise people, and connect with them and try to get them on your team. Raise the proper amount of money so that it'll give you a good shot, at least a good year of runway to really make a case that you're making headway in this market, have some revenue. There's got to be some kind of revenue, and then go and continuously raise money. Because if you don't have the money to continue your growth, then you'll just die right on the vine. And that's why I think most startups fail. And I would not go to all of these like startup fairs and all of this, pitches and stuff like that. One, I used to do that. It's a waste of time. What you need to do is find people in that industry of whatever you're trying to build, because they're going to understand the pain points and they're going to understand what you're trying to build. And find those people that are business owners or rich people in that industry or industry titans. And those are the people you pitch, because they're going to understand. And then they're going to write a check. And that's exactly how we did it. It was all through we call friends and family round. Trust me, I went to like 20 of those pitches. No, never one did I ever win, right? And then yet I won Entrepreneur of the Year, the national award, without a single penny from any of those places. So I think a lot of these incubators and stuff like that, I mean, there's some that are really good in Silicon Valley. If you get a chance to get into one of those, that's also a really good deal, because they'll give you capital and they'll give you connections, right? I don't know which ones are good, which ones are bad, but I know there's a couple in Silicon Valley that have produced some really big ones like Airbnb. So that's another avenue. But just remember that it's not just all about an idea. Okay, that you have to put together the right team to be able to raise the money, to be able to survive long enough to prove that this is a real business.
Well, that's very good insight that you're sharing with the young entrepreneurs out there. Well, thank you for your time, Cherie, and continue success. We will be monitoring your growth, and hopefully you will find time to come back and chat with us from time to time.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.